If employers tell domestic workers not to come to work, they must still be paid their full salaries. This is the view of the United Domestic Workers of South Africa. UDWOSA is concerned about the lockdown. They say some domestic workers will be subjected to the no work, no pay rule. Well, I'm joined now by the movement's president, Pinky Mashiane. Good morning and thank you so much for joining us. It is the right thing to do, but is there any obligation on the part of the employer to pay domestic workers if they're not coming to work during the lockdown?
Yes, what we're saying is that domestic workers didn't take sick leaves. They were going to work if it wasn't for the virus. So we are saying for that, the employers have to pay the domestic workers who are home at this moment because of coronavirus.
Do they have to by law or not?
At this point in time, it is by law because the president said all the workers must stay at home, even if he didn't specify that domestic workers must stay home. And he also said there were funds that were going to pay the domestic workers. So we are saying the employers must pay domestic workers who are at home during this time. So the days that they were supposed to work, they must get a full salary for that.
What is happening on the ground? I'm sure you're speaking to your members. Are domestic workers indeed getting paid over this period, or are some being simply let go?
I've only got two now who have been paid by employers. They are home. Most of those that are home, they haven't been paid. And they are worried if they will get the full salaries because others are getting paid on hand and now are not getting anything. They are at home. But we are also saying that the government itself, the Department of Labour, must take responsibility. If employers are saying, no, we are not paying, it's no work, no pay, the Department of Labour must make a special fund, more special for domestic workers who are not registered with UIF. Those registered with UIF, we hear that UIF is also going to pay the workers who will be at home during this time of this pandemic. So we are saying the Department of Labour must also make it sure that domestic workers are paid, even those who are not registered with the UIF by the employers, because it is the Department of Labour which was supposed to go to the employers and make sure that the domestic workers are registered.
In terms of pay, is there a difference between a full-time domestic worker and someone who perhaps comes in once a week? Will that occasional worker also be entitled to work? Should she expect to be paid?
Yes, that worker is supposed to be paid even if he's a part-time worker because, like I said from the beginning, they didn't ask for it. They didn't apply for these domestic workers. They would have had their money on hands today. Maybe they were going to get that 200 rand or 150 for a day. So because it's not the domestic workers who caused this absence from work, they must be remunerated for this.
And what about families that are suffering their own loss of income because they themselves cannot work? What do you advise domestic workers to do in a situation like that?
Well, you're saying if they finish, that's what? I didn't hear you clearly.
You know, some families who employ domestic workers are going to be suffering their own financial losses because they also cannot go to work. Some of them, perhaps freelancers, cannot afford to pay a domestic worker. What advice are you giving domestic workers?
What domestic workers? Yesterday, they were, just want to make an example, that there were 9 domestic workers who were told by employers that they must go home and it's only going to pay until tomorrow. So I sent them to the Department of Labour. When they got there, the Department of Labour said to them, they must ask the employer to pay them, and then the fund will come later. So the Department of Labour is saying to their workers, tell the employers to pay you, and the fund will come later. Then we will fix that with the employers when the time the funds are ready.
Thank you very much. That is Pinky Mashiane from the United Domestic Workers Union of South Africa.